All right, picture this. It's the middle of the night in Iran. All of a sudden, the ground just shakes. Massive, mysterious explosions are ripping through the city of Bandar Abbas. And as the smoke starts to fill the sky, one huge question is on everyone's mind. Was this just some tragic accident? Or was it the opening shot of a secret war?
So the blast was centered on a residential building. And I mean, it was completely flattened. People who were there described total devastation, way more than what you'd think a simple malfunction could cause. As the shockwave tore through the quiet night, the world immediately started asking, what in the world just happened here? And get this wasn't just a one-off event. Almost right away, reports started flooding in, some confirmed, others just whispers, of similar explosions happening in as many as 7 different cities all across Iran. So, was this a coordinated attack, or was it just mass panic? This is where the story starts to get really, really complicated.
As the dust from the explosion began to settle, 2 completely different stories started to take shape. And believe me, the fog of information warfare that followed was just as thick as the smoke in the air.
Okay, so the main question is obvious, right? What caused this thing? But the answers people were giving could not have been more different. You had authorities, outside observers, and intelligence agencies all trying to piece together the truth from 2 totally contradictory explanations. So on one hand, you have the official story from Iran. It was a simple, tragic gas leak in a home. End of story. But on the other hand, you have this unofficial chatter coming from Israeli sources telling a much, much more explosive story. That this was a precision strike meant to take out a top-ranking Iranian naval commander.
And here's a really important piece of context for you. This is not the first time we've heard the gas leak story coming out of Tehran. In the past, other incidents that were first brushed off as gas leaks later turned out to be targeted assassinations of key military leaders. So that history, well, it definitely makes you look twice at the official story.
To really get a handle on what might have actually happened, we've got to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. We're talking about an ongoing shadow intelligence war, one that isn't fought with armies, but with spies and hackers.
You see, for a precision strike like the one that's being talked about, you need a lot more than a satellite. You've got to have eyes on the inside. Past operations that have worked were built on getting incredibly specific intelligence from people, getting someone close to the target.
So, how do they actually get this kind of intel? Well, a lot of the time, it's surprisingly old school. Reports from the past suggest operatives will recruit people on the household staff, like cooks, or they'll compromise a driver. And if that doesn't work, they might go digital, hack the phones of the target's friends or associates to track their location. It's a real game of human and digital chess.
But, and this is a big but, there's a counter-argument here. It really seems like Iran's internal security has learned from its mistakes. I mean, during the big protests recently, you had demonstrators right at the doorsteps of the leadership's homes, and yet not a single high-ranking official was touched. That tells you their ability to protect their own has gotten a lot better.
Okay, so with all that in mind, let's go back to the smoking rubble in Bandar Abbas and try to figure this out. Are we looking at a success, a total failure, or something else entirely?
Now this is where it gets really weird. The official Israeli response adds a whole new layer to this mystery. They actually issued a formal denial saying they had nothing to do with it. And according to people who watch this stuff closely, that's unusual. Normally, after a successful covert op, their policy is just silence. They don't confirm, they don't deny. So an outright denial? That's a big change.
So, all of this leaves us with 3 competing theories. First, it was a successful Israeli strike and the denial is just a smokescreen. Second possibility, it was a huge intelligence failure. They launched the strike, but Iranian security got the target out just in time. And then there's the third, and maybe the most fascinating idea, that this whole thing is a calculated deception by Iran, a staged event to control the story for reasons we just can't see yet.
So in the end, we're left with conflicting stories, a history of deception, and a whole cloud of strategic confusion. This whole thing really makes you ask a pretty fundamental question about conflict today. When nations are at odds and they're telling completely different stories about the exact same event, how do we ever know what's real?